suitcase?
Yeah, I'll be organized in a sec. Let me just get this started here. Where am I at? All right. As you can hear in the background, the rocket's red glare is rocking as there's fireworks all over the place. And that's why the Saturday Night Special is right now and a little bit late. But listen, it's my freaking show. And if I want to go on late, I can do that. I'm Chris Jericho. And happy July 4th. Happy Canada Day a few days ago. And welcome to the Saturday Night Special. We have a sponsor tonight for Underground Power Records. The new album from Siren, Back from the Dead, is here. Great looking group of cats right there. And the reason why Underground Power is sponsoring this is I don't know if you guys remember on the cruise when I had the I'm Too Old for This Shit, a heavy metal fairy tale. I'll go over this way so I'm a little bit more in the middle. The story of Siren, which is a really great inspirational story about a heavy metal band from the 80s that never really made it until they found out they had a huge fan base overseas and then kind of had a second chance to live their dreams. We are currently shopping this documentary and we will sell it soon. And when we do, I expect all of you to love it and worship it and live by it, right? No shirt, no shoes, no dice. So thanks to Underground Power Records for sponsoring the Saturday Night Special this week. And keep an eye out for Siren, I'm Too Old for This Shit, a heavy metal fairy tale. Sounds good, right? So welcome to the Saturday Night Special number 13. It's going to be a shorter one tonight because, listen, it's July 4th. I don't know who's listening, who's watching. If you guys are smart, you should be outside watching the fireworks like I should be. But I have a responsibility to all of you. Correct. I'm wearing my the only shirt that I have that has the United States flag on it, Lizzie Borden. So there you go. That's why I'm wearing this. So another cool thing is that it was actually the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future yesterday. And I went and watched it, and it still holds up. It's a great movie. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, it's fun. It's fucking great. But I'm going to do a podcast about that this week. About that movie, and there's so many cool things about it. Like obviously one of the greatest time travel movies ever made, but there's so many little details that happen throughout that movie that you might not even remember. You know, like Twin Pines Mall, and when Marty lands in 1955, he runs over the tree, and when he comes back later, it's the Lone Pine Mall, and like Goldie Wilson is the mayor, but of course Marty convinces him to become the mayor, and of course Marty creates rock and roll. When it's your cousin Marvin Berry. You know that new sound you're looking for, Chuck? Here it is. So the sound of Marty McFly created rock and roll. It's really, really cool, and it's something that if you haven't seen it in a while, go back and revisit it, and you will be hearing a great Talk is Jericho coming up probably over the next few weeks. I'm going to track it this week, but my schedule is super packed on the show. If you've been listening over the last few weeks, we've had some great ones on. Had a really great one with Billy Jensen, who is a true crime reporter, and he's also like a crime fighter. He solves true crimes that he reports on. The Green River Killer is one of them, or the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer. I'll take Golden State Killer for 3, Alex. And he talks about what's the guy's name? The Don't Fuck with Cats guy, Luca Magnotta. He talks about John Wayne Gacy and the Bear Branch Killers, all these great, really ridiculous, not great, all these crazy stories that Billy's involved with. That happened this week. And, of course, we had Dave and Rybo, the Winnipeggers. We're not called the Peggers anymore because apparently some kind of a sexual slang that some of you pointed out to us. Thank you. Sorry we're not involved in that scene, so we were going to call ourselves the Winnipeggers. We had a great one on July 1st, which was Canada Day. Awesome. Hope you saw my amazing jacket this week on Dynamite. And, of course, Luther hits the big time, which is Lenny Olson, my friend for 30 years, who's finally in AEW, and he's killing it. He actually is coming up next week as a tag team with Serpentico, which is really good. So lots of good stuff there. So go check out those episodes of Talk is Jericho. And here we go with the questions. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter show today. I can already see by the counts that a lot of you are probably enjoying July 4th. And why would you want to be hanging out with me on this day? I hope you guys are safe, having a great day. Watch Team America, World Police. America, fuck yeah. Nostalgic Nerd, if they would I'm doing some proofreading. If they would do a biopic on your career, is it biopic or biopic? I always thought it was biopic, but that might be some kind of a medical procedure. So if it's biopic, then I've been pronouncing it wrong for many years. I apologize. If they would do a biopic on your career, who would you want to play young Chris Jericho? Well, that's obvious. Jonah Hill. Great. Marina, this is epic hanging out with you. And this is old school Jonah Hill, like the chubby guy, not the new kind of sallow type hanging skin guy. I've asked this question a few times. Derek DeVale, do you keep in touch with Ralphus? I tried to get Ralphus on Talk is Jericho a few years ago, but he kind of big leagued me. Like I got his email from somebody on the Twitter, and I emailed him. I don't even know if he ever got it. He just never responded. He might have said like, "What's your podcast about?" or whatever. I'm sure Ralphus had people, and his people were not very responsive. But his real name is John Riker. And somebody sent me an obituary from like last year or something. John Riker of, somewhere in Florida, which is where he was from, I believe. So I think Ralphus might no longer be with us. But what a great guy. So very, very funny. And the funniest thing about Ralphus, I've probably told Ralphus stories before, but if you want to hear some more, here you go. It's funny because he was like the lighting guy or something. Let me rephrase that. Not even the lighting guy. He was a truck driver who drove the lighting rig around. And he would always be sitting there, super friendly guy. And he had no front teeth, and he had these kind of spikes hanging out here. Like if somebody stuck like Jim Carrey sticks like pieces of asparagus in there. He had just like in Vietnam, they called them punji sticks, where if you stepped on a punji stick, it would fill with poison and it would kill you. So he had these like punji sticks sticking out the sides of his teeth, and he's always super friendly. Hey, how's it going? How you doing? At least that's what I remember him talking like in my mind's eye. So when Goldberg came in and he had the flock of seagulls, anyone? And I run the flock of security guards around him. I was kind of doing a parody of that because I was beating up like a small version of Goldberg. So I said, well, I should probably get my own security guards. And I thought, well, maybe should I get some guys from the school that were hanging around, or just get like weirdos? And he instantly came to mind. So I asked him if he wanted to be on TV, and he said, sure. And I said, will you mind wearing this shirt if I cut it in half? He was open for anything. And that's kind of how Ralphus was born. And, and the best part was that Ralphus started getting fans. And when he started getting fans, he couldn't compute like the reason why. Like he thought like, he was becoming a really big star. So he would like, I remember one time when I'd be like, like when you walk to the ring, like be angry, like be mad at people. If they touch you, like, don't you touch me, or don't touch Chris Jericho, you're my bodyguard, but be angry and be like, why? These people are so nice. I'm like, you hate them. You hate all people. So we go to the ring, and it was like a house show. He used to show up at random house shows, like not even invited. He would just be there and just, in case you need me. So I remember one time I went to the second row, people like, boo, but behind me, this like, ah. And I turn around, like when I'm standing on the second rope, like being angry, Ralphus is standing on the second rope, like leading cheers, like, yay, yay. And I'd be like, don't do that. These people are great. So then it leads to, we do this spot at another match. Maybe it was on TV, maybe it was at a house show, whatever. Well, Hugh Morris is going to climb the ropes to do a moonsault, and Ralphus is just supposed to grab his leg. And I was like, don't do this. Whoever booked it, he doesn't have the mental capacity. Not that he was stupid, but you have to be in the zone when you're in wrestling. You can't just throw somebody in there. So when he went to climb the ropes, Ralphus wasn't there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's supposed to stop him. So I get up and hit, whatever. It kind of screwed up the spot, but I whatever. So afterwards I see him, he's got these flowers in his hand. And he's like, I go, where do you get those flowers? He goes, the girls in the front row gave me flowers. They like me. I'm like, oh, really? Is that why you didn't see the moonsault? He's like, well, I forgot because I got these flowers. I'm like, oh, really? Can I see those flowers? Hit him over the head with the flowers. Don't take flowers from people in the front row. So yeah, Ralphus, what a guy. So he might not be with us, but R.I.P. Ralphus, a great, great gentleman. The Film Addict, thoughts on the Joker movie. Who is your favorite Joker? I like the Joker movies. Kind of depressing, but I guess that's the idea. It's kind of the what is the Joker's real name? There's a lot of controversy about that, like Arthur Case or Arthur Fenton or something. But a lot of people say that's not either. I thought it was good, but it was a little bit depressing. I still have to say, to me, that the greatest Joker is definitely Heath Ledger. Had Heath not passed away, he would have been a big baby face in the movies right now. He probably would have been a bigger star than Batman. Excellent. If you haven't watched that, I think it's The Dark Knight. If you haven't watched Heath Ledger as the Joker, go back and watch it 10 years later, and you'll be going, holy shit, this is just so genius and it's so great. So there you go. Todd Burke, what's next for Kuarantine? I'm lobbying for Spit. Well, I don't know if you guys heard, but No debuted on the mainstream rock charts. I think the Billboard Top 100 at number 60. So we took an obscure Kiss song from 1987 and in the middle of a pandemic turned it into a top 100 hit in 2020. So very proud of that. So Heart of Chrome is out now. If you haven't heard it, go check it out or check out the video. And what's next for Kuarantine? We do have a couple of the songs in mind. Actually, the guys have actually already recorded the third song. I haven't done the vocal for it yet. And we're actually talking about doing some shows, some special shows for you guys. So there you go. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Here we go. Could you book Ron Keel for Talk is Jericho? He has a new CD. I would be open for that. I was actually listening to some Keel today because they had a song called 4th of July on the third or fourth Keel record, like in 1987. The 4th of July was the name of the song. I would do it as a sing-along, except for no one knows it, including me. We did have a show with Ron Keel. He was called Iron Horse Ron Keel. He was a country guy at the time. He might still be. And we were playing at a show in Anaheim. And it was kind of like this hodgepodge show during the NAMM festival, probably 2002 or 3. And when you play a show with multiple bands, it's very important to make sure you end on time. That's a very specific thing, because if the show is scheduled to go 9 to 9:30 is Ron Keel, 9:45 to 10:45 is Fozzy, and 11 to 12 is freaking Iron Maiden, whatever. That'd be a hell of a bill. Iron Maiden, Fozzy, and Keel. Mr. Smallwood, are you listening? If you finish your set at, like I said, if we're supposed to go on at 9:30 and you finish at 9:15 and it takes us that much time, that cuts into our time. So it's not like, oh, well, we went 20 minutes late, so you get an extra 20 minutes. It doesn't work that way. So we were ready to go on, and Keel was playing, and he just kept playing. He was doing a lot of country songs. And I remember he was doing Here Today, Gone Tomorrow from the Final Frontier record. And he hadn't even played Right to Rock yet. And Rich Ward was like, if he doesn't stop right now, I'm cutting the power. And somehow he had found the power cord or the power switch or whatever. And he's like, Here Today, Gone Later Today. And then he starts to go into the last tune, Right to Rock. And Ward's like, it ain't happening. Boop. And Keel was escorted off the stage. I remember he was sitting in the back for a while, just giving us the evil eye. He probably doesn't even remember that. But it was true. I'm telling you right now, it's true. Let's see. Lots of stuff going on over here. Okay. Oh my gosh, things go by. If you do, please do shows about the Ultimate Warrior, China, British Bowl. I must have missed something. So yes, I will do shows about all of them just for you. Are you ready to fight Orange this Wednesday? Yes. It's a little known fact. It's actually been taped. We taped it last week, and it's one of the best matches I've ever had. I really, really enjoyed it. It's definitely worth checking out. Orange is great. He really is. He's a great, great performer. And when he first came in to the business, I had heard about him, was not a fan because of his gimmick. And I think that he really proved me wrong. And I realized, like, holy smokes, man, he is actually a great, great performer. And he did the unthinkable. He definitely made it by doing something different. And that's what I said that last week on Dynamite. The late Brian Pillman told me, if you want to make it in wrestling, you have to do something that's never been done before. And Orange did that. So congratulations. As soon as I pulled my head out of my ass and realized that this guy's unique, he's different, he's great, I became a big fan, and I'm really, really excited for everybody to see the match. Excuse me, this Wednesday. JT says, Steagle, do you like Back to the Future Part 1 or 2 best? Of course, I like 1, but if you haven't seen 2, it's really, really great. The writing on it, I think the writing of it is maybe even better than Part 1 because they encapsulate so much from Part 1 that leads into Part 2. It's definitely worth watching both of them in tandem. If you have, like I said, I don't think 2 gets the respect that it deserves because 1 is so legendary, but 2 is pretty badass for a sequel. And obviously they go to the future and all this other stuff. Best part is that Crispin Glover playing George McFly, he wanted too much money. So they just didn't bring him back. And that's why Marty's dad is hanging upside down. You never see his face because they just said, well, fuck it. We'll just have him hanging upside down all the time. Why? Because it's the future. In the future, people hang upside down. Don't you know? Favorite Kiss song from Asher Bumsey. That's a cool name. That's a hard call. I think that Black Diamond from Alive is probably my favorite Kiss song overall. But if you're asking about 80s Kiss, I think the best written Kiss song in all of the 80s period, and maybe even ever, best written as far as chorus, verse, hook is Heaven's on Fire. So that one is a great tune. So which sci-fi movie would you like to see reboot? It's hard to say because I saw like the what's the Schwarzenegger one? I can't remember. What's the Schwarzenegger movie? The time travel thing. Oh my gosh. Total Recall. Yeah. Ed the bartender's over here. Total Recall was such a great movie. And they did a reboot of it with Colin Farrell, which was also great, but it's hard to replace the original. So I know you said reboot, not remake, but I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I think that let's see a sequel to Spaceballs. How's that? Is that a good one? And also R.I.P. to Carl Reiner, who passed away this week as well. Super funny, obviously the father of Rob Reiner, and just it's one of those guys that because we're obviously he was 98 years old, so it's a different generation of performer, but just a genius all across the board as well. So. Let's see. Christian says, do I like doing commentary? Because you're great at it. Thank you so much for saying it. I enjoy commentary. I think it's a lot of fun. And like I never really had done a whole show before, and doing it in Atlanta when we kind of had to film, I think 4 shows in one day because of the lockdown. It was by necessity. Like, what am I going to do? I don't really have anything to do. Jim Ross isn't there. Excalibur's not there. So I'll just do commentary with Shivani. And we realized we had a real, chemistry to it. So yes, I would do more commentary. And I think probably the idea at some point is that, maybe when I'm finished wrestling, that maybe I'll do that. So it's fun. I definitely am entertaining myself as much as I'm entertaining you guys, especially when this week, I think there was a Striper reference. There was an Anvil reference. There was, Godzilla, Mothra, King Kong, whatever the hell I was talking about. It was fun stuff. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm sure you will see a lot more of it coming up. Were the fan contest winners announced from Pyter Fest on Wednesday who got the Zoom call? We have not done the Zoom calls yet. I think they're going to announce them this week on Dynamite. So the winners have been chosen, and I think they're going to announce that this week. So that's really cool. And that's an idea that I had actually because I thought, well, they're always talking about trying to hold people during the commercials, and obviously there's the ratings war and all this other stuff. And I thought, well, why don't we do something that's going to entice people to watch the picture-in-picture? Because sometimes people say, okay, picture-in-picture, because that stops a lot of people from changing the channel. But what if we make it even more intriguing and have people win something if they stay to watch the commercials instead of turning the channel? So that's where that came from. I said, fuck it, I'll do the Zoom calls, and let's have 3 grand prize winners, and there we go. So hope you won to get more engaging, riveting conversations like I'm giving you right now. Hello from Australia. Hello, mate. Put another shrimp on the barbie. Are you sick of hearing that? Oh, my God. I'm so sick of that shit. Sorry. Love Australia. Love wrestling there. And Fozzy loves playing there as well. Is there another NJPW wrestler that you'd like to go against? Another New Japan Pro wrestler? I would love to work with Ospreay. I think he's one of the best in the business. I think Ibushi would be great. What I would really like to do is something with KANE, Jericho and KANE versus Okada and Tanahashi. I think would sell out the Tokyo Dome, or Okada and Ibushi, or Tanahashi and Ibushi. Any combination of those three versus Jericho and Omega would be a huge success. So I would love to do that at some point. Which wrestler, says Christopher Cornett, which wrestler do you think potentially will one day take the spot of Jericho when you decide to retire and ring? I don't know, man. I mean, that's hard to say. Like, there's no spot that can be taken over or can't be taken over. Like, I've never been the type of guy that's like, no one's going to get my spot, because if you're good, you make your own spot. And that's what I always did. So the one thing for me that I have is that nobody at this point in time really has a career like I've had. 30 years on the job, through all these different companies, through every company that's ever existed, basically, and seeing companies open, companies close, and being on top and being on bottom, and then leaving WWE and going to New Japan and spiking their business, and then basically being one of the kind of the reasons why AEW was able to start. So who's going to take my spot? I don't know if that's even possible, because I've had such a long career in so many different ways and very diverse. And October 2nd, 2020 will be my 30th anniversary in the business. So we're already working on some special stuff. And I don't know if you guys know this or if you read my books, but I've kept a list of every match I've ever had since October 2nd, 1990, Pinoca, Alberta versus Lance Storm. I wrote that down on a piece of paper. I still have that exact piece of paper, along with, I don't know, 100, 200 others, with match, date, number of the match, who the match was against, what the finish was, what my star rating was, the crowd, and the amount of money I was paid up until a certain point when you used to make money per match. And I don't think any other wrestler of my stature of 30 years of doing this has that list. And the reason why I kept this list is because when I first went to Hart Brothers Pro Wrestling Camp, and my first day, Keith Hart was there, and I asked him, how many matches have you had total? And he's like, I don't know. Why would I know that? And I'm like, well, if you go to a library and you want to find out how many games Wayne Gretzky's played, you could just go and take out a book and read that. And I just thought it was very strange that nobody kept a record of that. So I decided I'll just do it myself. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm now transposing that, downloading it, whatever, data processing, blah, 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 whatever the fuck it's called. I'm putting the stuff from this page into the computer, whatever that's called. I'm not doing it, but actually Alex Marvez is doing it. And he actually just finished today. We're going to start proofreading. I'm going to do some kind of a limited edition book, the true list of Jericho, whatever I want to call it. And then I'll kind of add some stories about some of the books, but it's not going to be a long book, because writing a book takes a long, long time. I don't have the desire to write a book about that, but I would like people to be able to see, for those of you who care, a list of this guy who's been in the business for 30 years, every single match he's ever had, all these different countries. And then I'll list my top 10 and all the countries, and, I'll make it cool. So that's kind of what my plan is for the next book, but I don't have time or the wherewithal to write another 300-page book about my life at this point, because that takes a year at least. And I just can't do it. Fozzy with Baron Cross and Bloodgood booked the tour. Well, I'm not sure who would go to see that besides me and Richard Christie and Howard Jones and Bartender Ed, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. I would go to a Baron Cross Bloodgood show tonight if there was one. So hopefully we'll get to see that at some point. Darren Bradley, love the latest classic album clash with Load Reload. Out of curiosity, how do you think Saint Anger has aged over the past 17 years? Also, thank you for the autograph last week. When did I give you an autograph? Where have I been? Where have I seen anybody over the last freaking 4 months? But maybe you got it from somebody, from your Auntie Shirley, who knows my Auntie Bev or something. I don't know. I love the classic album clash with Load and Reload. I love kind of doing the super load combination of the two. I would love to do the same for Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, a classic album clash between those. The only problem is, and my rule for classic album clash, the tracks the album has the same amount of tracks. But we'll figure out a way to do that, because I would love to do a Super Illusion track list as well. Saint Anger, how's it aged? I think it was a very important album for Metallica, because had they not done it, they probably would have broken up. And I think they spent a lot of money for it to sound that raw, that shitty, if you will. The snare drum is sounding like that on purpose, but the aggression and the aggro attitude from that album. Once again, I think Some Kind of Monster is one of my favorite Metallica songs ever. I wish there was some solos on it, but like I said, man, it was a certain album from a certain period of time that they needed to do to not just completely lose their minds. So there you go. I think it's done fairly well. Some great tunes on that for sure. Frantic, Saint Anger, Some Kind of Monster, Dirty Window, Sweet Amber. Great stuff on that. Michelle Worrell. That's a cool name. Michelle Worrell. What is your favorite song to sing live by Fozzy? Probably Sin and Bones. I love it because the range is really high. And it's got a great melody line to it. And it's one of our songs that really cooks. It's really fast. It's really killer. And I think that we will always have that song in our set at some point. Oh, Autograph the Band, Darren Bradley said. Okay, thanks, dude. Thanks for the sing-along. Heather Lancy, please wish happy birthday to Matt Walk. Happy birthday, Matt Walk. You're a Independence Day baby. Congratulations. Any funny Undertaker stories you have to share? Probably we went to Japan all together on a giant charter plane for 2 shows. You guys know that it was when Raw and SmackDown taped 2 shows back to back in Tokyo. Where was it? It was at the Saitama Arena, I think. And we all went to Roppongi, which is the big party district. And I was super loaded, as you can imagine. And there might have been some other narcotics involved, maybe. And me and Taker were sitting in the back of the bar, kind of in a private area. And I had just had it in my mind that I had to convince Undertaker to let me kiss him on the lips. And I spent like an hour dude, just let me kiss you on the lips. Come on, just once. Come on. And he finally allowed me to kiss him on the cheek. That was his compromise. So I got to kiss Undertaker on the cheek, and I think I sat in his lap and just hugged him. So there you go. It's a story you'll probably never hear anybody else that was begging Undertaker to kiss him on the lips. All right. Oh, yeah. What's your favorite T-shirt design you've ever had? I'm a big fan of the original Jerichoholic shirt with all the steps of recovery in the back from Josh. Yeah, the original Y2J shirt was great. There's been a lot of great ones. In the W, any of the ones that had the list involved. It's not so much the shirt; it's the catchphrase. The list was big. Any Y2J stuff was really big. There were some stinkers. There was one that I had, which was like, what was I saying? I can't remember. It was like something about a wannabes. Was I doing a thing like everyone in the WWE was a wannabe of Jericho or something? And I had this actual shirt of like this can of like Raid spray. It was like, Jericho kills wannabes. And it was like this shitty looking bee, like, and I think it sold like singles. And there's another one that was supposed to be Living Legend where I got sued by Larry Zbyszko. So they had to change that to like Larger Than Life. And that one stunk as well. So it's not so much the ones you remember that were good. It's the ones that were good that you remember. It was the ones that were bad that you remember. I went through a phase where I had a bunch in Hot Topic as well a couple of years ago. And there was one that was like Judas with kind of like a holy representation, like a saint, but it was my face. And that was pretty good. And people were like, oh, you shouldn't do that. It's blasphemous. I'm like, yeah, come on, dude. Lighten up. I'm not really saying that I'm a saint or whatever. It's just Judas, and just have fun with it. Whatevs. George Kelly, is there any chance you could book AC/DC on Talk is Jericho? Because that would be awesome. Let me call them right now. Angus, can I do Talk is Jericho? I've had Chris Slade from AC/DC on Talk is Jericho, but little known fact, or maybe a well-known fact, AC/DC doesn't do a lot of press, and not the most talkative of fellows. And not the most accessible of fellows. I would love to have Brian Johnson at AC/DC. I think he would be a great guest, but they are super locked down. They don't have a publicist. They don't have a press agent. I'm not even sure they have a manager. I think they do all their business just through a lawyer right now. So at the very least, hopefully we'll get to see AC/DC live in concert again at some point. I actually heard there was a big rumor that they were supposed to go out this summer, and they're supposed to announce it like in April, May for like an August, September run with Brian Johnson back and that sort of thing. But that freaking Rona screwed everything up again. You know, if there wasn't the Rona, I would have been going to the Stones tomorrow night. They're supposed to be in Tampa on July 5th. And I missed that. So there you go. Thanks, Rona. Marstopia, can you please tell the story of the first time you met Rey Mysterio Jr. with Art Barr in a hotel room? It wasn't a lobby, it was a hotel room. Art was coming over to my room to hang out for a bit when I first got to Mexico. We were going to have a couple drinks, whatever it was. He had this little kid with him. This was 1993, and he came in and he sparked up a joint. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? You can't smoke a joint in front of this kid. Like, how old is he? 12? He's like, no, he's 18. I'm like, this kid? And he's like, yes, my name is Oscar, and it's very nice to meet you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, nice to meet you. He goes, and someday, hopefully, we can wrestle together. I'm like thinking, like, as if someday you'll be able to carry my ring jacket from the ring to the back, you little guy. And I think I even asked him to show me some ID to prove that he was 18, and he was. Oscar Gutierrez Frias, I think his name is. Oscar Gutierrez Frias. Little did I know that he would grow up to go, well, didn't grow up much, but that he would become one of the biggest stars in the history of the business and one of my favorite people in the world and one of my favorite rivals. But he'll tell you that. I think I asked him for his ID. He looked like Chicken Little back then. He looked so small. Like, you ever seen that Chicken Little movie where they had like the little guys got the big giant glasses? It's kind of what he looked like. How absolutely terrible was Great Khali? Worst of all time? Oh, dude, come on. Hardly the worst of all time. Legit, the dude was 7'5", and legit, if he hit you with one of those tree trunk bonks to the head, it felt like a fucking tree trunk fell on your head. So not easy to work with, but hardly the worst of all time. So and also, you know, too, a great guy, and that goes a long way with me. So there you go. All right, we got some Detective Bryan Black here. I'm doing some detective work and ask you a question. I like that. Are you a real detective? Show me your badge. What is your favorite Judas Priest song? Mine is Painkiller. I gotta say Sentinel. I actually got asked to do. There's a Judas Priest compilation record a few years ago. It was called The Chosen Ones, and they asked a bunch of fellow rockers to name their favorite Priest song. I think James Hetfield named one, and Lemmy, and top level stars, and me. And I named Sentinel as mine. It's still one of the greatest Priest tunes ever. Great solo. And Rob Halford creating his own pronunciation of the word sentinel by calling it the Saintinel. Sentinel! That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, Priest is great. I think they would be smart to bring KK Downing back in the band. I don't know inner workings or politics or whatever, but I think it's the same reason why it's smart for AC/DC to bring back Phil Rudd and Brian Johnson. I mean, any connection you can have to those, you know, old school lineups is a good idea. So, and here we go with what's your favorite Nirvana album and song? Well, Breed. Yeah, I mean, I was really late on Nirvana. It's so funny because I was the perfect age for that. I was 21 when they broke. Perfect age to be into Nirvana and their teenage angst or early 20s angst, and they're just, you know, not knowing who you are and being angry at the world. But I was too much into heavy metal, and I just would not accept the fact that grunge basically killed, you know, all of that scene and that whole you know, that whole world that was going on. So I didn't get into Nirvana and really understand the genius of Kurt Cobain probably until about 2003 or 4 or 5, like 10 years after he died. And once I did, then I really got it. Like, man, this guy was one in a million. And, you know, he might have quit the business or whatever, but if Kurt Cobain was still alive, I think there'd be some amazing music still coming out. So here we go. Jared Jackson. Hey, Chris, I'm the tour manager for the rock band Head PE. I just released an album called Crush Riff Volume 1. You can stream it on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes if you like heavy guitar riffs. God bless. All right. So everyone go check out Crush Riff Volume 1 by Jared Jackson. Or maybe it's just called Crush Riff. So go check that out. I had concert tickets for the Reba McEntire last month in Atlanta. That's moving July 2021. Well, that's probably for the best in many ways. I'm joking, of course. Reba McEntire. Woo! My favorite Reba McEntire song? All of them. I hope you're having an excellent 4th of July. Can you talk about your 97 Halloween Havoc match against Gato? I was so scared as a kid when you fell on your neck. Guess what? So was I. I've never watched that. I have never watched that ever. Just bad timing. We had done that move before. Gato, great friend of mine, still is to this day. And sometimes in wrestling, things just go bad. And that was one of those moments that just went bad. And it just, it was lucky. It was really lucky. I remember my dad was there that night. It was just super scary. And the thing in wrestling, when you really scare yourself and get hurt, you never sell it. You pop up right away. Like, okay. Because it scares the shit out of you. So I'm glad that didn't go as bad as people tell me that it looked. Because like I said, I've never watched it, and I will never watch it. Thank you. A few more questions here because it's July 4th. There's lots of stuff going on. We don't want to make this a super long one. What is Chris Jericho's favorite thing about KANE? He's super smart. We used to discuss Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. You ever think that KANE would discuss Aldous Huxley, Brave New World? He does. And the other one we used to discuss is if you're a Queensryche Operation Mindcrime fan, we used to discuss Who Killed Mary. Yeah, he's really into that as well. So it was obvious that she killed herself. Who do you think killed Mary? The priest?
I always liked the priest.
I think she killed herself. Bartender Ed thinks it was the priest. I think she killed herself. What's the next move that you and Kevin Smith are going to do commentary for? I'm not sure yet. We've had a couple thoughts. We definitely want to do Grains and Greens, more of it. We're both busy guys. But had a lot of fun doing the Omen 2 with him for episode 666. What are the chances of that? Like, so crazy that we had talked about doing the watch along for Omen 2 because we're both big fans of it. And here we are doing it on episode 666. Who would you rather interview, Michael Jackson or Elvis? I mean, dude, I don't even know how to answer that. Possibly the two most famous people in the world of all time from a pop culture standpoint, right? I don't even know. I'll say I'm not going to be wishy-washy. I'll say Michael. I'll interview Michael. I think Michael Jackson, and any other shit aside, as a guy, the most talented human being of all time. I just told Big Swole this story the other night. My favorite thing about Michael, not my favorite thing, but one of my favorite stories is when they were doing so when Off the Wall came out, Michael thought like, this is genius. It's great. I love it, which it is. It is great. But the Grammys snubbed it. He got no Grammys and he was super pissed. He said, I'm now going to make the biggest record of all time. So he and Quincy Jackson sent out this like a casting call. All great songwriters, send us your greatest songs. Michael wants to do the greatest record of all time. And he got all these submissions, whatever. And he picked like 5 or 6 of the songs. Thriller was one of them by a guy called Rod Templeton. I think James Ingram wrote Human Nature. So there's a couple. And then he's like, these are good, but what else you got? And they're like, dude, like these are the greatest songwriters in the world. He's like, well, let me try and write a couple songs. So after all the greatest songwriters send in their best stuff, Michael then just goes and writes Beat It and Billie Jean and Pretty Young Thing. And it's just like, let's do these ones. And it's like, holy shit. Even as a songwriter, he was brilliant. And that's one thing that Elvis was not. Elvis never wrote songs. So that's why I think Michael is more talented than Elvis is. Both of them died way too soon. But do you blame him? I mean, talk about the pressure of just every fucking person in the world knows who you are. Just think about that. All right, winding down here. Tony Chismar, love seeing on Shudder for Joe Bob Briggs this season. I love Bloodsucking Freaks too. Any info on that original song you did for them? The record came out. I didn't write it. I can't remember the cast name, but he was a great guy and asked me if I would do a song with him. And we basically literally recorded that in 10 minutes. And we put it out on vinyl, and apparently lots of people bought it and loved it. And it was fun. I love Joe Bob Briggs. I've loved Joe Bob Briggs from the 80s, and I love The Last Drive-In and what they're doing and with Joe Bob and Darcy, and they're doing a great job there, and hopefully I'll get a chance to come back again. Thoughts on the NHL restart? Any picks? The Jets. Right there. Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg Jets on Jason Voorhees' mask. Cool, right? Screenshot it and zoom in. I don't have the flexibility to do that. I don't even know if the Jets are even involved. Are they? I'm not sure. Okay, we're going to do a few more questions. Then we're going to do a sing-along. Are you going to beat Orange Cassidy? Going to be a good match. I'm not going to tell you who won or lost. I'm just going to tell you that it was you guys win, because it was a great, great match. One of my favorites that I've ever done, and hopefully you all check it out. Because like I said, he is really, really good, and I respect anybody that has been able to make something out of themselves by doing something different. And like I said, same with Marco Stunt and Orange and a few other guys. As soon as Chucky Taylor, as soon as I pulled my head out of my ass and went, listen, stop being an idiot and let's respect these guys for the performers that I are. I was like, you know what? All those guys are really good, and much respect to all of them. Shannon, I've suffered with anxiety and depression for years. Thanks for being a light in a dark place. I appreciate it. I'm glad I'm able to help out in any way, shape, or form. Tell your son I said hi, and tell him I am Van Friend. I met your son on cruise. All right. He's actually working out in the gym right now. I can see him on my secret cameras. Favorite cruise moment? 2 of them. Both times we left port with Fozzy. The first year was Judas as we pulled out. Second year was Sin and Bones. And when you leave a port on a sold-out cruise that you created and put on while your band is singing a song that you helped to write, that's a pretty badass moment. So Cruise 3, triple whammy, February 1st to the 5th, sold out. Go to ChrisJerichoCruise.com and join the waiting list. We haven't even hardly even announced anybody yet. We've announced Ted DiBiase, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Bully Ray, Candice Michelle, Brad Williams, and Striper. I mean, that was enough. And me. That was enough. Okay, let's do a couple more questions here. Thoughts on the hey, what's your favorite 4th of July? That's not the one I asked, but 4th of July memory you've been today, hanging out with all of you wonderful people. It's amazing. What's your favorite drink with Grey Goose? Usually on the rocks with some kind of flavored seltzer. I got bubbly today. I like Dasani. And there's another one called Polar that's really good as well. So can't wait to see. Oh my gosh. Like I said, these questions just go so fast. My dogs are in here with me because they were so scared with all of the fireworks going off. Who's better, Striper or Tourniquet? Striper, although I love Tourniquet as well. As a matter of fact, Tourniquet CDs held up the sign today, and I actually wrote the liner notes for this remastered, I think remixed version of Pathogenic Ocular Dissonance by Tourniquet, signed by Ted Kirkpatrick to me. I wrote the liner notes for this. So if you're a Tourniquet fan and you see this CD that's been remastered and remixed with bonus tracks and freaking bonus pictures and all that other stuff, you'll get to read my notes. Yay. All right, guys. Oh, my gosh. Did Vince McMahon ever tell the champion he couldn't be from Canada? Yes. He said I had to be from New York. Coming out to your own son at Wrestle Kingdom in Tokyo Dome was something to behold. Goat, thank you. I thought if I came out to Judas in the Tokyo Dome, that for sure, after 50,000 people saw me coming to the ring with my song blaring, that they would definitely book us for a concert in Japan. They have not yet, but one of these days they will. That's one of my biggest goals, is to get Fozzy in Japan. I've been there 60 times wrestling-wise. I would like to go back at some point. But if I don't, if we go back with Fozzy, that'd be great. Are you from Montreal? Sacre bleu. No. I see what you're trying to suck me in there. So, okay, so what should we do for the sing-along this week? I think what I've been thinking is, because we had Back to the Future, I think it might be fun to do one of the Back to the Future songs. And I am a big Huey Lewis and the News fan. And 2 great Huey Lewis and the News memories that I have. And one of them is I was walking through the airport. We had just come back from Australia from a Fozzy tour. And as I'm walking this way, Huey Lewis walks that way. So I turn around and follow him, and he goes and sits down at a bar. So I go sit down next to him, and he's just sitting there. He's minding his own business. And I'm here and he's here. And as we're sitting there, there's two girls that are like me, Huey, and so we're starting. Me, Huey, and two girls beside him. And we're sitting there, and these girls like, one girl's like, oh my God, that's Huey Lewis right there. And the other girl goes, wow, he sure looks old. And Huey's sitting there with his drink like this, and he's like, I can hear what you're saying. And you don't look like no prize yourself, baby. And I was like, Huey, much respect. And he's like, and then when we played First Avenue in Minneapolis on the last tour, on the Judas tour, Sean Hopper, who is the keyboard player from Huey Lewis, was at the show. Of course, we sold it out. We really did. We sold it out. And he and his wife were there. My wife was there. And I was like, why are you here? And his wife was a fan. And here's Sean Hopper from the Huey Lewis band, which no one knows unless you're a Huey Lewis fan, which I am. I just thought it was cool that he showed up. And he was like, yeah, it's really good. You guys are a great band. I'm like, you guys still play? He's like, well, Huey still wants to rock and roll sometimes, man. We still go out and we still cook. That's old school 70s term. Yeah, we still cook. We still cook. So I think in honor of Huey Lewis and the News, we should do The Power of Love. And in honor of Back to the Future, 35th anniversary, there will be a Talk is Jericho with Back to the Future coming up soon. You guys know this one. More Than Tourniquet, right? Here we go. Power of love is a curious thing. Make a one man weep, make another man sing. Change a hawk to a little white dove. More than a feeling, that's the power of love. It's got a high range. Tougher than diamonds, rich like cream. Stronger and harder than a bad girl's dream. Make bad one good, make a wrong one right. Power of love, keep you home at night. Don't need money, don't take fame. Don't need no credit card to ride this train. It's Random little Huey Lewis in the news right there for you. But good times, great taste right here on Talk Is Joe. What's this called? The Saturday Special, whatever it is. Got so many songs and so many things I do. Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight on July 4th, and we will see you here next week. We'll do a little bit of a longer show then. Hope you enjoyed. Kevin Stegall says, thank you for taking time to do this for us, especially on holiday. Thank you so much. If you guys are watching, go watch Reunited Apart, Back to the Future edition on YouTube. Is that, oh, wow. I met Michael J. Fox at Madison Square Garden when we were there doing promo for AEW Dynamite for the first episode. And because Turtle, the guy who plays Turtle, Jerry Ferrara, I saw him on the big screen. So I went over to talk to him. And as I'm talking to him here, right out of the corner of my eye, I said, oh, my God, that's fucking Michael J. Fox and Tracy Paulin, his wife. So I went over and talked to them and asked if I could take a picture with him. And when I went for the selfie, she got out of the thing. I'm like, no, get in it. And so she got in once because I included the wife's key. He was super cool. So once in a while, when I send him a random comment on Instagram, once in a while, he'll get back to me. Not often. He's probably, who is this creep? Asked for a picture of me and my wife. Hee-haw. Jericho, thank you for having Fourth with us, man. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Got to do Back in Time. I always think of Silent Live. Kevin, Back in Time. Remember he's on the elevator and Michael J. Fox goes on. He's just looking ahead and Michael J. Fox just goes, Back in Time. Michael J. Fox looks at him. He's just like, Michael J. Fox turns around. Back in Time. There you go. What else we got? Who would win in a fight, Corey Taylor or Henry Rollins? I missed there it is. Wow. Oh, jeez. Corey's pretty nuts, but Henry just looks hard. Like, he looks crazy, right? Anybody that's had a crew cut for most of his life, it's probably pretty crazy. Kim Reed Myers. Thanks, Chris. Always enjoy the Sunday special. Thanks for watching, Kim. Appreciate that. Walter, big Walter. Did you throw up tonight? Everyone says, hey, Walter puked tonight on the Sunday special watch. So, you gotta hold your liquor, kid. Hope to see you soon, dude. Could you see CM Punk ever come to AEW? Would you like that to happen? Yes, and whatever. Who cares? Sean Messenger, thanks, Chris. Have two it's Michael J. Fox. Damn it. Are you Yoda? You gave me the nickname Detective Bryan Black last week. All right. Well, thanks, man. I'm glad you figured that out, too. You really are a detective. Very nice. Thanks, Chris, for 4th of July, Saturday Spectacular. Enjoy and be safe. Jimmy Han, we wish you well. Jericho. Jimmy Han Solo, I believe, is his official nickname. Alex Espinoza says Wally, and I say, and why not? Here lies Derek St. Hubbins, and why not? Happy 4th of July, says Stefan Vandell. Was curious if you could tell us what the American Badass, the Phenom, and Mark Calley mean to you. Undertaker, man. He's the Fonz. One of my favorite guys to work, even though I only worked a few times, but one of the guys that has most respect in the business, including me. Flaco Rodriguez just said $3.99. Well, you win, buddy. You got it. I know. Oh, you're dedicated when you're watching a hospital. I can't miss it. Thank you, Brittany. I'm glad that you're able to tune in, and hopefully we gave you something to check out. Give Heather Williams a birthday shootout. You're not supposed to say how old she is. Jeez Louise, man. You never ask a girl how old she is or how much she weighs. Two things I've learned that Uncle CJ is passing on to all of you hot young upstarts. Someone just said, will we ever see another lion salt in the ring? What are you talking about? I do one every week. Do I actually ever hit it? Well, once in a while I do. It always gets a reaction. But there's no people in the crowd, so what difference does it make? Hopefully soon. Hey, Chris, it's 4:25 in Spain, but here I am. Any news about new Fozzy music? Hi, Paula. Hopefully soon. We're working on it. I know Frank just tracked the drums, and we're just waiting to be able to do some more. I've done 4 tracks of vocals, and it's cooking. It cooks, as Sean Hopper would say. Jeremy Sebastian, happy 4th for USA, and happy Canada Day to you also. Thank you. Very bipartisan North American. Thank you. Appreciate that. Happy Canada Day, 4th of July from Matthew Lindsay. Hey, Chris, it's 20 to 4 in the morning here. Are you probably in England or maybe Germany, I'd say. Favorite Halloween costume you've ever had? I used to love my favorite Angus Young when I dressed as Angus Young as a vampire. Favorite Halloween costume you've had? Well, that Bartender Ed had the best one. Happy Canada Day from Malaysia. And guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you listening and being here. And don't forget to check out the new Siren album on Underground Power Music. And watch for the documentary. And we will see you guys next week. Happy 4th.